Hi, my name is Matteo Atwi. I'm the CEO and co-owner of US Frame Factory. We are an on-demand metal stud manufacturer based out of Louisiana, but we supply everywhere in the United States. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the differences between cold form steel and wood and different scenarios where you may be interested in using cold form steel or wood. Now, you might think, well, this guy's probably biased because he manufactures metal studs. But the reality is we want you to use the right material for your application. We're going to be talking about cold form steel metal studs in reference to framing and wood in reference to framing. We know that there's other applications where you might want to use steel or wood as a finish, but we're not really talking about that. We're talking about the bones of the building. When it comes to framing, they're used very similarly. You'll see them both used 16 or 24 inches on center. They're framed in a way that accepts drywall and plywood and easy access for mechanicals such as plumbing and electrical. So in essence, they get used very similarly. However, there's a lot of different connection details and engineering details that go into using one versus the other. So don't think that they're just apples to apples. So let's talk about wood. First, I'm going to disclaim I'm not an expert on wood frame construction, but I know enough to give you a gist of why you might want to use wood or steel in your next build. Wood is great for many reasons. It grows on trees. It's environmentally friendly because trees sequester carbon. And additionally, they're readily available in the North American market, where we're blessed with a lot of trees. Wood is also very easy to work with. Because it's been in the market so long, people are used to working with it. You can easily find a contractor. And in general, the tools that work with wood allow you to go pretty quick with it. The saws cut quick, the nail guns drive pretty fast. Those things don't necessarily happen with steel. Now let's talk about why you might want to use cold form steel, also known as metal studs. Cold form steel is a relatively newer building material than wood. However, it has matured a lot in the last few years. The reasons you may want to use it is because it's non-combustible. The steel itself will not catch fire. It's a galvanized coated steel, so you won't see any rust or degradation over time unless it's placed in a very extreme environment like under the water or in very wet conditions. Additionally, steel will not attract termites, it will not grow mold or various other things that might happen with wood. And it's a manufactured product, so you gain the benefits of manufacturing, and it can be very easy for prefabrication such as trusses and panels. Another benefit of using steel is that it can be engineered in a few ways that wood typically can't. As you're designing, say, a hotel, you can decrease the gauge of the steel as you go up to really optimize your building for the design needed. One of the pros of using steel is that you may get better insurance rates because steel is non-combustible. We can't promise that you will always get cheaper insurance rates, but there are many times where the durability of steel lends itself to insurers giving you a better rate. Now let's talk a little bit about the cons of using wood. Wood does attract termites and it's combustible, meaning that if you're building lights on fire, the wood can continue to grow that fire and make it even bigger. Additionally, wood can soak up water and get wet and can also grow mold. Additionally, if your contractor is not good, they may not assemble well with wood and it may be a weaker building. So there's a few reasons why wood may not be the best choice, especially if you're building a city where there is strict adherence to fire codes and various other things. Now let's talk about the cons of working with cold form steel. Cold form steel unfortunately isn't as well known as wood, so you may not have an easy time finding a contractor to work with it. Another con of steel is that because of the material properties of metal, it's a thermal conductor, meaning it tends to draw heat easily. So when you build with steel, you need to know how to insulate it properly to get the correct insulation for your building. If you're not careful, you can end up in a situation where heat easily enters your building. One of the biggest cons of steel that we always address with customers is that it tends to be more expensive because of the labor market and because trees are so abundant in the United States. As a result of this, people always try to compare them apples to apples, but really they have different use cases that we've mentioned already and different pros and cons that you may want to look out for as you design a building. Overall, we would say if you have a scenario that lends itself to wood, such as a residential home or something out in the country where there's not strict codes, wood should be your first choice because it'll save you money and you can build really well with it. However, if you're building in a city or you're building multi-story and you're building to maintain and to own and you want to avoid some of the issues with insurance and fire, then steel is a really good choice because of its inherent properties and its rugged durability. If you have any questions about this topic, please reach out to our team, or visit our website and check out some of our articles on the topic.